The mathematician James Sylvester once said, "The musician feels mathematics. The mathematician thinks music. Music, the dream. Mathematics, the working life." Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Devansh Agrawal, and today I'm going to talk about my personal journey of how I learned math through music. Most students right here hate mathematics because they find it difficult. As they grow up, the complexity of the subject increases. But unlike most students, I had struggled with this subject even when I was young. I could never relate to it. Even at the age of 6 or 7, I could not cope up with the school curriculum. So my parents thought that maybe I would never succeed in studies. It's time for me to try new things. Thus, at the mere age of 7, my journey of learning tabla began. But math didn't seem to leave me. Math was even here. For instance, every solo performance in tabla is based on a tal. A tal is a definite set of bols or accents defined for a specific number of matras. For example, we have the tal called dadra, which has 6 beats, and the bols are. We also have the Keherwa tal, which has 8 beats, then Tim tal, which has 16 beats, and so on. So while I play the compositions, the tal is in the background, which acts as a metronome. To make these compositions sound musical, it is necessary that the number of matras in the composition is equal to the number of matras in the tal. For instance, if I take a composition in Tin tal, which has 16 beats, the composition needs to have 16 beats or a multiple of 16, such as 32, 48, 64, etc. So before I could play all of these bowls or these compositions, it was necessary that I mathematically calculate and make sure that they fit in the tal. But for a 7-year-old with a poor foundation in mathematics, the calculations were just too tough. One such composition is called a tihai. It is played at the end of a performance. It is essentially a set of bowls played thrice, whose last bowl of the last repetition coincides with the first bowl. An example of a tihai is this. Here, the last dha should coincide with the first beat of the mantra. For example, if you take a tihai in Tin tal, which has 16 beats, but 16 is not divisible by 3. So how do I divide up my mantras? Therefore, typically, a tihai in Tin tal has 33 beats, where the 33rd bowl, the last bowl, is the first bowl of the third repetition of Tin tal. Do you guys get it? Okay. Okay, so I'll understand it more clearly. In the first 32 bowls, we complete 2 revolutions of Tin tal. Because one revolution of Tin tal has 16 beats. So we complete 2 revolutions. Then the last beat is the first beat of the next repetition. So the whole cycle of playing a tihai is completed that way. So creating tihais in Tin tal became lessons of mental math for me. Lay. Next slide. Lay, called tempo in English, is the speed at which the accents or the bowls are incorporated in a matra. For instance, a good lay is playing one bowl in one matra. For example, this. Then we have the dugud lay, which is the twice of a good lay. That means we play 2 bowls in one matra. Then we have chogud, that is playing 4 bowls in one matra. So, after just 2 years of learning tabla, that is when I reached the age of 8, I was able to play most of my compositions in these 3 lays. So my music teacher decided to introduce me to a new concept, to a new lay called the ard lay. Ard lay is a lay where we play 3 bowls in 2 beats, therefore is actually represented by 3 by 2. As you can see, that ard lay is heavily based on fractions. But there was one problem. In India, you learn fractions when you're around the age of 9, when you're in 3rd grade. I was only in 2nd grade. I didn't know what fractions was. When my music teacher got to know this, he tried to teach me the concept of fractions. But I didn't put the effort to learn. The fear of mathematics was just too much. But one fine day, the thirst to learn music overcame my fear of math. I sat down with the scribbles and notes in my notebook, and I tried to teach myself the concept of fractions. And I did. I learned fractions on my own. Then, when I reached 3rd grade and was actually taught fractions in school, the mere fact that I knew something that my peers didn't made me an instant genius. And that gave me a feeling of pride. And that feeling of pride, ladies and gentlemen, was enough to make me fall in love with the subject. And gradually, I was getting better at the subject. And naturally, the grades followed. Now, the reason I wanted to give this talk today is because I believe there are thousands, if not millions of students worldwide that have trouble with the subject. I believe that music is an alternative way for these students to understand music, to understand math. As I said earlier, every classical performance ends with a tihai. Therefore, I would like to present a tihai before you in the tal tin tal. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was my talk.